Well, welcome back everybody to another episode of Hot Rod Guy Garage, and this is going to be another Project FreeTro update. So, as you know from our last video, we got the M&H drag slicks on the car and the front end rebuild in it. Well, it's now Sunday, and I need to take this car out and try to get y'all another How to Make Your Geo Metro Faster video. But, until I can do that, I've got to get the tire clearance issue figured out. So, basically today, especially on this video, we're going to see if we can address, not be able to turn the tires. So, watch along with me and we'll see what we get into. And alright, so tire clearance issues. How are we going to get the tire clearance? Now, the easy way out is we would just take something like our good little friend here, the Sawzall, and just whack off the parts that we don't need, or where it hits. But there is also other ways that you can do stuff like that. So I'm going to gather some stuff up. I'm going to lay it here on the floor, and I'm going to show you the different ways that you can gain tire clearance. The easiest way would be to buy a fender rolling tool, and they're pretty expensive. You can get them off Amazon, and they work fairly decent. We unfortunately had one at the shop, and it got loaned out, and it never returned. So that kind of puts me in a place where I've got to visit alternate methods of getting this tire clearance. So that's basically what today's video is going to be, and we're going to see where we end up. So watch along with me. So basically, guys, if you don't have a fender roller, there's about 4 different tools that you can use of various things to accomplish the same goal. Like I said before, the easiest way is cutting it with a Sawzall or with a grinder with a cutoff wheel, which this is a flap disc, but you could put a cutoff wheel on that and just cut the lip out or the affected areas. Alternately, you could beat it with a hammer, which is a way that you can do this, and you cannot damage something that way. But usually, we used to use a wooden baseball bat, but you can also use a heavy wall steel pipe. And basically, jack the car up, put it between the fender, and then you roll the car, putting various pressure on this as you go. So basically, I'm going to start off with the steel tube. And we're going to see if I can get that clearance in these areas that I need it. And I may just go ahead and try to roll the whole lip to try to give it just a little bit of a flare, just to cover a little bit of this exposed tire. So just watch along with me and we'll see where we end up. So basically, guys, all these methods are going to be kind of rough on the paint. If it's a car you care about, you can take a heat gun and heat the paint up slightly till it's good and warm to the touch. You don't want to apply too much heat or you'll burn your paint off. So I got the car rolled forward, so let's flip this around and we'll see where we end up. And since the car sits high enough, and I'm using a fairly small diameter pipe here, it will actually fit in here just fine. And as you can see, I can stick it almost all the way down here. Since our issues when we turn, it just aggravates the issue, and it's mostly because of the offset of our wheels. So basically, you're just going to put the pipe in here like this, and you can roll the car while applying light pressure. And you can basically roll this fender a little at a time on out. And as you can see, it chipped paint there, which on this car is perfectly fine. So this is going to give you kind of the gist of what's going on. And I'm just going to work this slowly as I go. And sometimes you'll have tabs and stuff back here, and you'll want to work getting them bent back. So sometimes you may have to find just a certain spot and pull slightly. And it's also much easier if you got two people. But basically, you're just going to keep working at it until you get the desired effect that you want. As you can see back here, our fender lips folded back. And sometimes all the rolling and kind of beating around in the world won't get you clearance that you need. So that's the point where you break out the saw or the cut-off wheel and you start cutting stuff. So I'm going to flip the camera around. I'm going to show you where I'm at and kind of what things look like. And I'll be right back. So I've got the fender flared quite a bit. And as you notice, we kind of got a little buckle going on right here. That's because you're trying to stretch metal outside its limits. I'm going to work that out a little bit more, but the car's rough. It don't really matter all that much. So basically, what I've still got, I don't have as bad of a clearance issue down here as I had. So what I'm going to do at this point, I'm going to mark me off a nice clean line down through here. And I'm going to cut this fender. Same with the bumper up here. I pulled this out like over an inch. It's still going to have to be trimmed. So let's get to that. And alright guys, so what I've done, I took some green masking tape and just pulled it from the fender edge and just try to make a continuation of the arc. So that's going to be my cut line. It's going to be tape. You could alternately do this with a marker or whatever else you had. Point here is not to try to destroy what you have, but to try to use and make clearance as needed. I was trying to pull these fenders a little too much, and like I said, it's got a little crease right here, which looks way worse in the camera. It's more just like a little dent. As you know, this metal's pretty thin and you can push it with your fingers. This car's had a fender replaced on it before, and as you can tell, it's a different shade of blue from the door. So no big loss here. So I'm going to start trimming our fender. I've not decided if I'm going to use Sawzall, which I probably will not because it's going to bend this fender all to pieces. I will probably end up using either a jigsaw or a cutoff wheel. So let's see where we end up. So the jigsaw done the trick there. Important tip when you use a jigsaw like that, make sure it has a fine metal cutting blade. You hold it up against your surface and you make sure it's supported. And just go slow, cut inside your lines. Because you can always cut more later. It's harder to add it back if you cut it out. And here's that point, guys, where I said it's important to cut less than what you need. Because you can always go back and cut more. As you can see, I still have some clearance issues right here. And my line's a little crooked, so I'm just going to pull this line straight back down and clip that out. Also notice on the inside, at the body seam, where the inner fender liner bolts up in there, that's going to have to be addressed also. It's not super tight there, but it is pretty close. So I'm going to go ahead and address that, so let's get to it. And just a few minutes later, and about a little bit of metal cut out. It clears just fine, and there was a casualty. I actually hit my finger with a hammer, which isn't real fun stuff. So I'll flip the camera around, I'll show you clearance, kind of show you where I'm at right now, and keep in mind I am going to clean this up and spray something on it, maybe some primer, and I'll be right back. So at this point, we got plenty of clearance. You can actually see an air gap down there. You can see where I cut that lip that was previously in there off. And it wasn't a lot of metal that I cut off, guys. It was literally like this right here. And a couple of little small leather slivers. So at this point, I'm going to start trying to straighten this fender gap up just a little bit. while it's not ridiculous, the bottom of this fender is bent pretty bad, and it looks like they had run over something or tried to jack it up by it before. And that's how I hit my finger. I was trying to hammer and dolly it out without pulling the fender off, and you know, it's just kind of rough there. So I'm gonna get my edges cleaned up around through here. I'm gonna spray a little bit of primer around this edge, and I'll be back. So basically, guys, I decided against spraying some primer around the wheel well. Very little small band of paint missing, so I just took a little can of spray can clear and went over the bare metal. Not a permanent fix, but later on, if we decide to paint this car, I don't have to take any more material off really to do the body work. Kind of like it being rough. It takes a lot of stress off keeping it clean and all that stuff that is really a lot of not fun for anybody. So I got the side finished up on the passenger side. I'm going to kind of show you. I'm going to flip the camera around. I'm going to show you what it looks like. I'm not going to bore you with me doing the driver's side. I'm basically going to repeat the same steps I've done on the passenger side, except now I have a little better idea. And the reason why I've done the passenger side first, you see the passenger side of your car a lot less than you do the driver's side. So if you screw something up the first time, you're not going to have to dwell over it every single day. So that said, let's flip her around. So basically, as you can see her this little shiny spot there on the edge of the wheel well. That's the bare metal. Where I had that primered in there, I just sprayed a little black paint down there. And I just wiped the bumper off with a little glass cleaner, and same with the tire. But the big difference is basically going to be right here. As you can see, looking at it, you don't see the top of the tire. Whereas over here, you can see quite a bit of difference. Now, other than the little dent that I made right here, which if you were painting a car is not a big deal. I mean, it is barely just a ding. I got most of the fenders straightened out by hand because, like I said before, these things are built like a Coke can. The metal's super thin, and you can manipulate with your hands pretty easily. In fact, you could probably just pull the wheel wells out if you wanted to. But I just wanted to kind of flare it out a little bit, just enough where, you know, if it slings something, it's not slinging it up on the windshield or anything. So that's about where we're ending up. So basically, guys, the more common sense you use on stuff like this, the better results will turn out in the end. Now, while this one isn't perfect and we lost some paint, a heat gun could have avoided a lot of that. So when you do this, do it your way. Take what you want from my video. Discard what you don't want. As always, it's just about building this stuff yourself, guys. A lot of people just don't even try. So here's the thing. You mess it up, you fix it. You mess it up bad, you fix it. You don't know how to fix it, ask somebody that does. Because more than likely they will try to help you. So pretty much, guys, that's going to be it for this video. I'm going to do the other side. And hopefully we'll have a how to make your Geo Metro faster here. Hopefully maybe tomorrow. Could be this afternoon. It's still kind of early in the day. I'm just down here. You know, I'm not in a rush. I'm just trying to take my time. So, that's it, guys. Until the next one, we'll see you then.